Hey everyone, Tom here again. The last video I posted was about Robert McKee's book, Story. In that video, I talked about the substance of story, talking about what a character will risk in order to achieve his or her object of desire. So this week I thought I'd share another book with you that I highly recommend. It's called The Art of Dramatic Writing by Leos Agri. So Agri's book's on playwriting, but there's lots of great stuff in that book that you can use for other forms of creative writing. This book was recommended to me when I was in film school by a professor, particularly the first section called Premise. So the premise involves a one-sentence statement about your story. For example, love defies all, or mistrust creates division. So for Agri, the premise involves all the elements of a story, such as plot, emotions, theme, etc. So all those elements of a story make up the premise for Agri. One of the important things he says is that you don't have to know your premise when you start writing your story. Stephen King says something along those same lines in his book on writing, that when you're writing the first draft of the story, you don't have to worry too much about theme. So Agri says the same thing about premise. You don't have to know what the premise is when you start writing, but he says eventually you should know the premise. So my takeaway on premise is that I see it like a guidepost or a compass, something that you can use to help you construct the story and know more about your characters. And of course, this is something you may discover later after you write the first draft. Again, you don't have to know the premise when you write your first draft, but once you do know the premise, it can be really helpful when you start rewriting the story, when you start editing. So I see the premise as giving the story more clarity. Knowing the premise can allow you to explore the characters and the story at a deeper level. So say if your premise is trust conquers division, then maybe one of your characters has trust issues. And knowing the premise, that could really help you out in how you track that character through the story. How does the character change? So again, I think a premise is as a compass in the story to help me understand the story at a deeper level. So that's The Art of Dramatic Writing by Leos Agri. Highly recommend checking out his book. Lots of good stuff in there. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll try to post some more videos again. Take care.